15 months. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. It's an in-person meeting for staff as well as directors. And it is also conducted via video conference. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Should be on the screen in a minute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
maybe we need to bring our own flag. Roll call, please. Jennifer?
Yes, Chair O'Farrell,
Present.
Vice Chair Irwin,
Here.
Director Carhart,
Here.
Director Mouse,
Here.
Director Manning. Here. All is present.
Item number 4 is presentations, proclamations, recognition. Are there any? None? Number 5, audience public comment, non-agenda items. Any person may address the board upon any subject within the jurisdiction of Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Any matter requiring board action will be referred to staff or committee for a report and action at the subsequent meeting. Do we have anybody in the waiting room, Ian?
No, doesn't look like we've got anybody for the staff.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7, consent calendar. Has everybody had the opportunity to peruse the consent calendar and ask questions of staff? Or if you have other questions, would you like to bring them up now?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearings, item number 8. Discussion 8.1, discussion and possible action on matters relating to fiscal year 21-22 recreation fee schedule proposal. And there's a resolution to adopt, which once we've had the presentation, we're ready for the motion, we will read that into the record.
All right, good evening, Board of Directors. My name is Katie Koss, Recreation Superintendent for the Fair Oaks Recreation Park District. And as you well know, we do a fee study proposal to the board each year before the next oncoming fiscal year. And so what you have in front of you is the fiscal year 21-22 fee schedule for recreation programs and classes and special events.
Question, do we have to open the public hearing formally? Motion to go to open a public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving forward, the requirement for doing your fee study for the community to come speak on is part of Proposition 26. So we've been doing that for about 10 years now. Basically, we need to hold an open public hearing. Any action taken to levy a new fee shall be taken only by ordinance or resolution, which we have here tonight. A general explanation of the matter to be considered shall be published in accordance with section 6062A of the government code. The actual process for this, I will highlight for the board and for the public. With the fees are highlighted in the schedule you see in front of you, which if they are yellow, that means it's a new fee and needs to be approved by the board of directors tonight. If they are green, it is a fees modified by 20% or more, which needs to be also approved by the board this evening. If they are red, it means it's an eliminated fee that we no longer need, and that requires board approval. If they are highlighted in blue, that's administrator approval only, and they are modified by 19% or less. If they say no change or NC next to them, that means no change in fees from the existing fiscal year into the next fiscal year. All right, and so we also are required to post this publicly in a newspaper. And so just to let you know, the public meeting notice for the review of the Park and Recreation fee schedule was published in the Carmichael Times the Citrus Heights Messenger, the Grapevine Independent, and the Rio Linda News on June 4th and June 11th to ensure a compliance with California Code Title 4, Section 6062A, which requires at least one public hearing notice be published 10 days prior to the identified public hearing date as required by law. The fees and the work report, as you know, are also published after 5 p.m. last Friday for the public to review as well. Are there any questions before I move into the actual fee discussion? Any questions from the public yet?
Nope.
So what you'll see before you is attachment A, which is the color-coded schedule. And we went through this with the committee, which was Director Mouse and Director Manning on June 1st and covered everything. I did promise that committee that if I added anything, I would let you know. I did go ahead and add 3 line items for a future disc golf tournament, and they are ranges, which is also an okay practice for this as long as it fits within our process. And so I won't go line by line because we don't typically go line by line, and I will just ask if you have any questions on any of the items highlighted.
The Kids Bike Festival racing, are we just not having that anymore?
We haven't had it during COVID, and our goal in the future, and we talked with the Family Free Ride, we're hoping they will take over the event and we will be background support for that because that fits a little bit better. So that's why we're doing this. Any additional questions? Right. Well, then what you have before you also is attachment B, which is resolution 061621-01, which is the resolution required this evening in order to approve these fees. So I will go back to the beginning and state that the goal is to get approval of the resolution and the fee schedule by the board of directors by approving said resolution.
So it appears the only thing that really requires board approval here are the deletions, because I didn't see any green for fees more than 20%.
It's
And
the
the-
yellow
and
and the
the
red
yellow.
this time.
Yeah.
Anything new.
So the new fees also.
And we have a standard practice that unless it's a brand new event, there's justification for it. We usually do not increase by much more than $25 at a time. So sometimes you'll see a 25% increase, but it's literally $3 on a $9 class.
So do I have it correct that anything that's in yellow here is a brand new activity?
Either a brand new activity or a new fee related to that activity. For instance, we have events where we start in one place. So we have our fees and then we add things to that event. So it's still going to say Easter extravaganza, but now we have special vendor fees that are different from normal. Because we've decided it'd be great to have that attraction at the event. So you'll see that as well. So it's not always a new activity or event.
Thank you.
But we don't have to parse out every one of the changes. We can simply adopt the free fee schedule in toto.
Yes, you can. And we have a couple of line items on there that is standard practice for under Proposition 26, where we do a range for our classes. Otherwise, this would be another 20 pages and it would list every single class we possibly could ever do. So we do a range of our lowest class price all the way up to the potential of our highest.
Okay.
And we usually don't have classes over $300, and that was our acting class.
Okay.
I'll make,
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask you about the new one that intrigues me, which is the Chicken Festival VIP tickets. Is that a brand new thing?
We have to purchase one to find out, Ralph.
It's double for you.
I'm just kidding. So the VIP is another great idea, and actually it came from our district administrator who's seen that at other events. It's just offering reserved parking so that you don't have to park all the way in the back, swag items that other people might not have access to, drink tickets, food discounts. You get that all in package when you arrive. You have a special seating area and typically your own bartender and some porta potties that are just for those people in that area, which is quite nice.
which is the biggest.
That's the big. Right now, sign all of us. That is a deal. It's great.
Sounds like my house.
And Ralph, I was surprised you didn't ask about the puzzle. We will be having the puzzle turn.
I was puzzled over that.
So
All right.
any other questions?
All right, I'll make a
Hearing none.
motion.
Do we have to have public comment in the public hearing?
I think they passed.
Yeah, anyone else in?
No comments.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 06-1621-01, revising the recreation fee schedule, approving new recreation fees, and giving the district administrator authority to waive or reduce program and facility rental fees.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
9.1. Oh,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have somebody, is Rachel there from FOIA?
So
Or some-
typically in the summer months of June, July, and
Okay,
August,
nobody,
we don't have-
nobody home. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
But I do want to let you know, Mary Patalka is actually the seat for FOIA, and we have already announced that, and Rachel will actually be serving a second term as our chair. It's the first time that I can remember that we've had a member serve as a second term.
Cool.
So you'll be seeing her for this year, and they have
Good.
some great ideas.
That's good. Great. That's good. Okay, see, 9.2, discussion and possible action on approval of Nexus study.
Yes, so this is going to be presented by Blair from SCI. He is on Zoom this evening and he has a brief presentation for you.
Great. Good evening, Chairman O'Farrell and members of the board. Again, my name is Blair Oz. I'm with SCI Consulting Group. Pleased to be with you this evening to present the updated park impact fee program for the district. I have just a brief PowerPoint presentation to share with you. Certainly I think it's brief, but if there's any detail that you want to get into the weeds on the fee program, I'm happy to do that. Again, this fee program was first established in 2010 for the district in conjunction with 7 other Sacramento area recreation and park districts. And so since it's 10 years old, the county felt that it was time for an update. And so we worked with not only the district, but the other 7 in order to do that. And again, I know that there are some new board members that were not on the board in 2010, so that if you have any specific questions about the fee program, please let me know. I'll give you a little bit of an overview and then talk about the update. But if you need more of an overview or background or primer, please feel free to ask at any time.
Yeah, Blair, let me stop you just for a second. You distinguish between the Quimby Act requirements and the fee program, so that we have 3 new board members that have not been on the board for the last decade, like my senior director down on my left.
Exactly. Yeah. So the purpose behind the purpose behind this fee, this program, and the district's Quimby program. So you actually have 2 of them, and these are 2 fee programs that provide funding to the district to expand your park and recreational facilities to serve the growing service population in the district. And that's really the purpose behind any impact fee program, is to expand the infrastructure of a community as that community grows, to provide that funding for expansion so that new development pays for those costs of expanding the infrastructure, and that's not borne by existing development. Is really the whole purpose behind development impact fees. And so what's for in Sacramento, and this is common for park districts across the state, is that there's actually 2 programs that are that serve this purpose. The first, and let me just get out of the way too, that both of these programs are programs that are considered monetary exactions. So they're conditions of approval of a development project. And so the district has taxing authority, but you do not enjoy land use authority. So both these programs were established by Sacramento County on your behalf under their land use authority. And so that's why you'll see reference to this program, the other program, that you're working in conjunction with the county, because it's technically a county programs imposed on your behalf. The district program, the district's Quimby program is a program. It's a program that it's called the Land Dedication and In Lieu Fee Program. And and again, we have not updated that fee program, but just to give you a little bit of context here, that Quimby program is a program that allows for the district to require the dedication of land if you have a subdivision that is over 50 units. And so you can actually, based upon a particular formula, require land to be dedicated in that subdivision for a neighborhood park. And so that's the land dedication component. And so there's an ordinance in the county municipal code that details the math behind how much land you can have dedicated to you. And then that program also for development projects that are less than 50 units, so smaller subdivisions, an applicant is not required to dedicate land, but they have to pay fees in lieu of that dedication. And the district, in theory, can gather up those fees from smaller development projects, and then could acquire land somewhere in the district. And in theory, you're collecting enough monies to acquire land someplace in the district that would represent a neighborhood park to serve those other smaller subdivisions. So it's a land dedication and in lieu fee program. The one thing, without getting into the weeds about that program, the one thing that I would highlight about this program and how it compares to this program, first of all, is that the Quimby program, the underlying math is really just land value. So the primary purpose behind the Quimby program is to have land dedicated or acquire land for future parks. So that funding that you get from the Quimby program, in theory, as you're expanding as your service population is growing, and you're trying to grow the proportionately the park districts, parks and recreational facilities, this is only providing enough money for expansion of your park land. And so the Park Impact Fee program works in conjunction with this program to be, now that you have a funding for development, for expanding your park land, you need funding to develop those parks and then provide for recreational facilities as well. So that's how those two fee programs work together. One is for the land, and then one is for the development of the parks on that land. And then before I leave, was there a question?
No. I say that's a very good way to describe what the purpose of each and how they work together.
Yeah. Before I leave the Quimby program, I do want to highlight one very important point is the use of Quimby in lieu fees. Now, even though the primary purpose behind these fees, the math that determines the fee, is all based upon land value and the acquisition of land, of parkland. Even though that's the primary purpose, the Quimby Act actually allows for those fees to be used on pretty much any capital capital projects. So you can use it to develop land, to develop parks, develop new recreational recreational facilities, community centers, aquatics facilities, and you can use it for rehabilitation of existing parks and recreational facilities. And that is an important distinction, because the program I'm about to discuss with you has a limitation that you're not allowed to use park impact fees for rehabilitation of existing facilities. So to the extent that you're looking at these two funding sources and you're looking to fund rehabilitation of existing park and recreational facilities, you might want to consider tapping into your Quimby program if you're not going to use that for any land acquisition as well. So that's an important distinction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe Blair can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Quimby Act is a rather old one. It was a state act. And I believe that's how we funded Little Phoenix, Medicine Place, and Gum Ranch.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, the development of those parks, those, I guess if, those development projects, when they went to, they were seeking their entitlements, they were required to either dedicate land or provide Quimby in lieu fees. And then when they pulled building permits, they were also required to pay the park impact fee. And so you're able to gather those together and use those for development of new parks. Yes.
Yeah, I remember when we did the park impact fee, there were several, that was of our own initiative. That was not anything that was required, and several other districts locally were doing the same thing at the time. And we thought that was a good idea and joined in 2010.
Yeah. So again, so now we'll turn to the park impact fee program, and there's an update before you this evening. Again, it was established 10 years ago. It's just simply being updated. And again, one of the important features when we established the fee program in 2010 was that we created an inflationary adjustment. So every year it's automatically adjusted for inflation, so that it's not, those level of funds are not eroded over time by inflation, and that's been very healthy for the fee program. So you're not going to see a dramatic increase in the fee as a result. It's been adjusted for inflation over time. The Nexus study, that report that's before you this evening, establishes the legal and the policy basis for continuing the fee, imposing the new fee, and the updated fee. And the fee program, again, in 2010, when all 8 park districts were looking to bring this fee program before the county board for adoption, not to get too far into the history, and I'm happy to do that if you would like, but this was these fees, these brand new fees, were actually being proposed at a time when the housing market was in decline and the Great Recession was occurring. And so there was significant outreach with the building industry, the North State Building Industry Association, area developers, about the fee program. And despite the housing market being just decimated during those times, as you know, and the Great Recession, we were successful with working with the county and the area developers and the other 7 park districts to bring these fee programs for adoption. And the building industry actually stood in support of these fee programs despite the downturn in the housing market. And the way that we did that is that we established an agreement in principle. We had a number of meetings that started to not go anywhere. They were starting to get repetitive. And we stopped and said, well, where do we actually agree upon how these fees should be structured? And based upon, we came up with an agreement in principle. We went back to the fee programs and modified them just slightly, and then established and then brought those fee programs before the county for adoption. And so I bring that history before you this evening because the fee program update, one of the principles was that we continued all of those principles. That agreement in principle is still live and well, and so the fees are the update to the fee program is still consistent with that agreement in principle. And it's certainly your prerogative, if you wish, to look at that agreement in principle and to set those aside, and we could renegotiate with the building industry some of those agreements and some of those principles. But I think the administrators and the county overwhelmingly felt, at least at this juncture, that we would structure the update and and still follow that agreement in principle. And again, a fee program, by its nature, a fee is designed to recover some type of costs. So again, as I'd indicated, the Quimby program is providing for land value. This fee program is providing for the development of parks and the development of a community use facility. And part of the agreement in principle was that the fee program would not allow for a aquatics facility component and a community use facility component. So the district's planned new community center recreation facility is that other cost component, along with development of parks at the district's master plan level of service. And so those are the costs those are the cost components in the fee program.
Now, the park fee goes against individual new homes and upgrades also, correct?
It's actually, and I'll get to that level of detail, but it's actually for just new construction. So if in general, if you're renovating a home or a business, it's not subject to the fees. It's actually just, the fees just apply to any time you're adding a new home or a new apartment complex or a new mobile home, and that is adding new residents to the district, new residents that you need to serve, and you need to, over time, need to expand the parks to continue to serve that growing service population. That's the nexus. And so new homes are creating new residents. You need new residents, create the need for new expanded parks, and so this is providing the funding for that. But nothing having to do with rehabilitation of existing facilities or any building permits where you're just renovating an existing structure. All right. So this is the fee schedule. The first column of figures is the current park impact fees, and then the second column of figures is what's justified by the park impact fee nexus update. These fee categories have not changed. The residential land use categories are based upon a fee per dwelling unit, and then for the non-residential land use categories, it's based upon the building square footage that's being added as part of that construction. So you can see that, like for a single family detached housing, the fee's actually only going up $53. And again, there's a number of factors that are being updated. One of the primary factors that's updated is the average household size for these types of residential developments and then the employment density for for the non-residential developments. And so that's why you have some variation in the fee. And again, normally, if you were still imposing the fee from 2010 and it had never been adjusted for inflation, these fees would actually be significant increases because it had been eroded by inflation. And so that's why you don't really see much of a change. The increase for 2 to 4 unit attached housing and mobile homes is largely due to when we looked at the census figures and updated those, you're starting, compared to 10 years ago, you're seeing more people per dwelling unit in these units. And so that increases the fee because you're getting more of an impact, because on average, you're getting more people from this type of development than you are for, again, example, single family housing. The fee for retail, office, and industrial development, those are all declining slightly, largely because we added a factor that enhanced the nexus for the fees for non-residential development. And essentially that factor was a non-resident employee factor. Essentially, we didn't want to double count. So let me step back a second. The nexus for non-residential development fees is just that if you construct, say, a new Costco, that new Costco is going to generate new employees, and those new employees are going to have when they're here before work, at lunch, and after work, they have the Park District system is available to them. And it's sort of much less available than a single family or a residential development, of course. So you're going to get less use of the parks from employees than you are residents. But we also have a factor now that recognizes that some of those employees of that Costco will also be residents of the district. And so in order not to double count, we added in this factor that has lowered that fee accordingly. And just lastly, the reason that we have a fee schedule rather than just one simple fee is one of the requirements of the law. It's called rough proportionality. The law actually requires that the fees have to be in proportion to their impact on the park district. And because the impact is largely based upon the service population, you have to structure the fees according to those impacts. Here's a laundry list of just the fee exemptions. Again, I'd mentioned that any rehabilitation, reconstruction of existing homes is not subject to the fee, and so largely we're talking about adding a new home or a new apartment unit is essentially when the fee would kick in. The one that I want to highlight here the most was that in 2019, there was a new legislation that exempted development impact fees for accessory dwelling units that are constructed on an existing single family home lot. And that law exempted ADUs that are less than 750 square feet. The county actually felt for all development impact fees that they impose, whether it's their fees or fees on behalf of a special district, that they wanted to go a little bit above that and exempt ADUs that are 850 square foot or greater, or if it has multi-bedrooms, they're going to be exempted if they're under 1,000 square feet. So just a little bit different that what is required by law, which is allowable. So these are the fee exemptions and credits. This is a summary of the use of the fees. And again, I know that there's this table is actually in the Nexus study. And I know that there's a lot of words on this slide, but I think what I wanted to just sort of highlight to you is, in general, the way that you can look at the park impact fees and how they're to be used under the law is generally they can be used for any district capital project that is expanding the capacity of the park and recreational system. So these fees can be used for development of brand new neighborhood parks, or expanding neighborhood parks, or expanding recreational facilities, like you're adding courts, you're adding ball fields, and I'm using the term add, or perhaps you have a shade structure that's being demolished, but you're putting up twice the size of a shade structure. Well, then you could use 50% of that project could be funded, because that shade structure is increasing the capacity of the district by adding more shade area. Okay, that's the principle behind the use of these fees. It's that you're adding to the capacity of the district. And why is that a legal requirement? Is because that's the purpose behind these fees, is to expand the park and recreational system to serve the growing population. So anything related to modernization, renovation of existing facilities is not a permissible use. That has to be funded with other funding sources. And again, just as a reminder, when I was talking about the Quimby program, those Quimby in lieu fees, that's those funds, just a little interesting nuance of those fees, that they can be used for rehabilitating existing facilities, or your replacement schedule, if you will. So you want to be careful about looking at your replacement schedule and your capital improvement plan and utilizing those accordingly. And then again, there's some important, so this is the fee program update. The inflationary adjustments will happen automatically every March, and the county takes care of that on your behalf. But the district does have a responsibility to provide an annual report to the county, and then a 5-year findings report to the county. The annual report is quite simple. It's essentially an expression of a detail of what happened in the last fiscal year with this fee program. So what was the beginning and ending balance? How much did you collect? And what did you expend it upon, essentially? The 5-year findings report is an important legal report that you're required to file with the county. And it's essentially, after that 5th year, you need to look at the existing balances in the fund and make some findings that you still have a nexus to continue to collect those fees and to retain the fees that you have in balance, and what is the specific plan to utilize those funds. So just last year, the district, I worked with the district and the other 7 park districts to bring forward that 5-year findings report to the county. So that has already been done. But in, again, another 4 years, this report will be due to the county. And it is an important report because there's a timing element to it. And if you don't do it correctly, in the district and the county would have to refund anything that you have not expended in that fund to the developers. that paid those fees, and you don't want to have to do that. So it's important, it's an important report to make sure that you do correctly and that you bring forward on a timely manner. So I just wanted to highlight that. So that just completes the presentation that I have for you this evening. I hope I gave you a good overview and enough detail about the fee program and the changes. But I'm happy to drill down on any specifics that you would like.
Thanks very much, Blair. That was very, very comprehensive. Do any of the directors have questions?
One question for Mike. SCI, do they also handle our assessment districts?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Ian, is there anybody, are there any guests out there that would like to comment or ask a question?
Nope.
Okay. So we have a recommendation from staff and our consultant to adopt a new fee impact, to adopt the Nexus report and the revisions to the fee program. Can we have a motion to adopt resolution number 06162102, approving the Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District Impact Fee Nexus Study updates and requesting the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors adopt and implement the updated park impact fee program on behalf of the district. So we're adopting this in total. Moved by Raymond, seconded by Darren. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks again, Blair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Mhm.
Darren.
Take
Just
care.
before Blair takes off, I want to thank Blair publicly for his work on this. We have spent, I believe, the last 2 years on this project, and we've done it with multiple districts and during a pandemic. And so you have a bunch of roosters in a room trying to get this thing taken care of during a pandemic, and Blair did a great job.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Take care. All right.
So I've just got a question. You're on the planning council, right?
I was.
The CPAC? So there's a piece of property, Ralph, maybe you know, there's the orange orchard on Sunset that has development proposals pending. That looks like a huge piece of property.
It is fairly large. I don't know if it's
Where is it on?
15 or 20 acres.
It's on Sunset between Kenneth and Illinois on the south side.
I looked at the site plan. I didn't see any park in there.
Well, if it is developed, we're either going to get impact fees or we're going to get land dedication.
Yeah, we're getting impact.
Okay, all right, okay. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, we've been monitoring that.
Okay, 9.3, discussion and possible action on fiscal year 2021, 2022 general fund 3.1A preliminary budget.
So this is our annual adoption and review and adoption of the fiscal year budget. This will be for fiscal year 21-22. And Ian, if you could bring up the presentation. So tonight you will see an overview of the budget. We're asking that you adopt that general fund budget as well as the 3 budgets for the assessment districts by resolution, and then the 2021-2022 salary schedule as well. So we'll do a high level look at the budget. No, not that one. There it is. All right. Oh, can I flip?
Yes.
All right. So we'll start with our budget assumptions, which we use when we develop the budget. The budget is developed with the district administrator as well as the management team. And we use.
Let me make one clarification. This budget is totally separate from the bond construction budget.
Yes, you will see that budget next. That is the next item on the agenda. So for this year, the revenue assumptions that we are making as a property tax increase of 3.4%. When the budget was developed, that was the assessed valuation difference between this year and last year. That has increased in the last report that I got. So that will be reflected in the final budget that you adopted in August. our 3 assessment districts, the Fair Oaks Landscape and Lighting District, the Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting District, and Phoenix Field Landscape and Lighting District are estimated, the first 2 with a 3% increase. Phoenix Field does not have an increase in the verbiage that when they adopted it, so there is no change there. That's the same from year to year. Our recreation revenues are assumed to be lower this year than they have been in years past. Last year, we weren't sure how they were going to be, and so this year we have a better idea of what we're going to be able to do, but we're still anticipating some fallout from the pandemic, as well as closing down our facilities in the village and low staffing levels and all that great stuff. Same for facility rental revenues. We're shuttering a lot of our facilities that get rented, and so we will not see as many rentals. Cell tower revenues, we did just have a renegotiated lease on our cell tower in Miller Park, and so there will be a slight increase for our cell tower revenues for this year. There's a signing bonus plus an additional $500 a month that we'll be receiving in income. I don't think it's working. All right, so this is just a pie chart of the revenues. You can see where we get our revenues. The bulk of it comes from our tax collections. Our assessment districts is about 1/3. Miscellaneous revenue, that orange pie piece, is really mostly money that we're moving in for capital. That is not actual revenue. And charges for services and our intergovernmental revenue and use of money and property. Those are our fees for service, our recreation fees, any kind of interest that we get. The $16,500 intergovernmental revenue is money that the state refunds to us for the property owner's discount on your property taxes that you get. And our cell tower revenue, that's what makes it those. Okay, and there is a comparison of the past 4 years. You'll see our property taxes going up fairly steadily. Assessment district, same thing. Our facility rentals and recreation revenue are kind of all over the place. And our cell tower revenue had been going down, and now it's going back up. That really depends on what's happening with our cell tower development from year to year. All right, now we can talk about our expenses. So this year, we had a pretty significant increase in our salaries and benefits, about $145,000 increase over last year. There's a lot of reasons for that. One is that last year, the full-time staff took a 4% cut, a temporary cut, and we froze all the merit and longevity increases for the year. And so that was a significant decrease for everybody. We are requesting to bring them back to full salary this year. At mid-year, we gave back 2%. Starting July 1st, we're hoping to do the full 4% back. We're hoping to unfreeze the merit increases and longevity increases. Those won't be retroactive, but they will be going forward. Everyone that's eligible will receive those this year. We are requesting to add 1 full-time recreation coordinator, which will be partially offset by a decrease in recreation part-time wages. There's a need. We have very few staff right now, and we're needing to add some staff with the increases in events and things that we're looking to do. And then there is a request for a 1.6% COLA from the Employees Association. It's about $17,000. That is not included in this budget because we are waiting till final budget to kind of see where we are financially before we look at doing that. Our health costs, we are assuming a 5% increase. I did just get the preliminary health budget numbers. It looks to be about 4.5%. So we're right on target. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I was happy with that. So we don't need to change anything for the final budget going into final budget because we always assume a 5% increase. We are requesting something that you'll see later on in the MOU, which is to increase the stipend for employees who are waiving their district paid healthcare. We only have a couple right now, but we did talk with the Personnel Management Committee as well as the Budget Finance Committee about that item. By both of them. So that is included in this budget. There's been no increase in our dental, vision, or life insurance costs. Our workers' compensation and liability insurance costs, those are going to increase this year by quite a bit. We did get notification from Capri, who's our current provider, that they called it social. So basically what's happening is that a lot of their excess carriers are no longer wanting to write policies for public entities because of the high dollar figures that settlements are costing. And so there are fewer entities providing that service. And so there's not as much competition. And so they can kind of.
Can you give a clue as to the dollar amount?
25%. So I think last year they actually lowered it for us because of the pandemic. So they gave us a little bit of a break. So this year we're looking at about 118,000. I think last year was 103,000.
It's the total.
That's the total for workers' comp. Yeah. And we have not gotten their final number yet. So that typically will change in final budget. So that might go up a little bit. All right. And then the committee, when we presented to the Budget and Finance Committee, they did request that we look for other options for insurance. There are only 2 options in this area. Capri is one and SDRMA is the other one. And they're both very similar in their fee structures, although we are looking into how much it would cost to change over to the SDRMA. Our retirement, our CalPERS unfunded liability increased about $20,000 this year. That does go up every year now and will continue to go up. So that is something that we're keeping an eye on, maybe looking into putting some money into a trust the way we have been for our OPEB, into the CalPERS unfunded liability trust to start offsetting some of those costs. And speaking of the OPEB trust, we did make a $40,000 contribution again this year to the OPEB trust. I know that's been a big priority for Mike. And so we couldn't do it last year. We are going to do it this year. And then we may be spending money on an election, depending on how many people are running. And that usually costs us about $25,000. So that is in there. If we don't have to spend that, that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be though in the budget for 2022-23?
Yeah.
Because we're not up for, I'm not up for election.
No, the special election for the recall.
Yeah.
We have to pay for the
I don't
No,
know.
we
No,
don't.
it's just joking.
Yeah, we do.
We have to pay for the
Yes.
governor's recall.
Every local agency is paying a piece of that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awful.
Well, it's in the budget if we need to. If we don't need to, then we'll reallocate that somewhere else in the
I think
final
that should
budget.
just be the county.
So the 40,000 that we're putting in with the 20% increase, are we going to up that this year, or is we're just going to do?
We're just gonna do what we did. I mean, if we do have money that's left over from this year's savings or anything like that, we will look to both fund our reserves a little bit and maybe put some more into the OPEB trust.
Yeah, I'd be curious how much we're underfunded right now, because we probably should be paying more.
Yeah. It's a lot. All right, and this is just a breakdown of the expenditures, so you can see how we're spending our money. A lot of it is for salaries and benefits. Our operational costs are maybe like a little, maybe a third, and then we're anticipating spending about $800,000 on capital this year, and of course our contingency of $50,000, which we have not spent this year, so we're just rolling that over for next year. Here's a comparison of our expenditures from year to year. Our personnel costs, we're going back up again. Last year we went down significantly because we made a lot of changes, but those costs do increase every year and they will continue to increase. Our operational costs, we are actually spending less this year because we are anticipating doing fewer programs and there's less expenses that go along with that.
Can I go back to ask you a question on the last one? You had 800 and some thousand in capital.
Yeah.
Where does our grant money? Is our grant money going to that?
No, there's no grant money in that yet. That's all money that, most of that is actually being rolled over from this year, money that we did not spend this year that we were anticipating spending. We're just going to push it to next year.
So less expenses, less programs, less revenue from rentals, all of that, yet we need to hire a full-time person. How does that work?
Katie can answer. I'll throw something on real quick, Katie, then you.
Yeah, so I would say it's right now, we know we're not gonna have the all facilities. Now there's plans to extend over to the mayor's kind of facility and more negotiations, but we didn't want to budget on possibility of getting them. So typically in other fiscal years, what's happened is if we increase programming back up, and if we come back to the board at mid-year budget and we've overspent, there's an exact revenue that matches that expense. And so that's typically been how we've done it in the past. We've had a while since that's happened, but that's kind of the strategy. Otherwise, we over budget something that might not actually happen. But we are pushing to get into some San Juan Unified School District facilities and to get into our STEM running programs, productions, the whole 9 yards until the 2 programs. So we do need additional staffing for marketing needs that we can't cover right now. I would say we're operating at a 25% level of marketing. And if we're going to push to move forward and advertise our bond and all that stuff properly, we don't have enough staff to do it right now. Just marketing alone.
And Kate, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but our youth programs are doing well.
There.
And we are understaffed there. And those are actually our biggest revenue producer right now. And they'll continue to do that probably through the rest of this year because of lack of facilities. And as the public gets more interested and able and willing to participate in programs as a whole, we'll see that increase come up. But the youth end has not suffered. So historically, if we went back 4 or 5 years, did we have a bigger recreation staff then than we do now? So this is kind of restoring.
So coming into COVID, we reduced the rec department by 1 full-time supervisor. And so we're actually asking for 1 full-time coordinator, which is at a much lower pay rate.
So this is kind of restoring to a
Trying to build that back up. Yeah, and so we're also bringing back our parent participation at preschool. Still not at the full level of the people, we're bringing it back. So we're going back to the teacher and the teacher's assistant instead of 3 staff there. So we're reducing part-time staffing hours and some of our supplies so that we can help pay for a full-time coordinator. That is someone that's on a school for Parks and Recreation and can offer a higher level of service to the community.
So this will also ease up some of the overtime that, not overtime, but the compensation hours that we've accumulated.
We did recently make supervisors exempt, so that also was a good decision to save that overtime as well.
Right. One question looking forward, when we get all these new facilities, would you anticipate in a couple of years we're going to need to add to our park staff? Yeah, I do. We are looking at that. We're doing the cost recovery piece, which Katie is working on as well. Sean is doing his part in terms of cost per acres of maintenance, and we're developing our potential operational cost and workload for La Vista, and we'll be adding Gum Ranch into that as well. And so, yes, we do anticipate that.
And the answer.
Yeah, and then the rec side, the arts entertainment side, that'll be an expansion as well. I have no doubt that we will be expanding this. Well, hopefully our revenues will expand too. That's what we're doing asking every end, the AMS report for, to try and get to that place. Yeah, thank you.
So this was the capital plan that was adopted by the board in April. I can't really read it from here, so I apologize. We're doing some parking lot paving, we're doing some pavilions, some picnic pavilions, and the Phoenix Dog Park improvements. You'll see those for next year. That's what the $838,000 is in the budget, as well as the rollover of Strength Park expenditures, which we have not spent this year. The other thing that's not on here because it was approved for this fiscal year is the renovation of the district office. That is going to happen next fiscal year, it looks like. And that money is going to be partially pulled from reserves and partially funded through ADA money that we have. And you will see that come back to you when we have to go forward with moving the money. You'll see the breakdown of that. All right. Okay, so here are our current fund balances. Our reserve fund, we have not taken any money out of there this year. That's $586,000. We're hoping that we will be able to add to that at the end of this fiscal year when we finalize the year end expenditures and revenues. The carry forward fund, our fund balance is at 85,000. Our 3 assessment districts all have a carry forward fund. Some of that money will be used for a chipper and some other items, which we'll see later on in the evening. And our impact fees are at 1.3 million. Our in-loop fees are at 290,000. We do also have $46,000 in our OPEB trust fund. We'll be adding an additional 40,000. And we got pretty good rate of return on that for this year. So we started with 40, we now have 46. The 1.3 impact fees includes money that we moved out for Strain Park. That's about $500,000. When we get our Prop 68 money, we'll be putting a little bit back in there. When that happens, I think it's 200,000. maybe less, 176. So we'll be adding back to that account.
Where does the reserve funds come from?
Those were moved by the board over the years with savings from year to year, or I think that's at the end of the year, if there's money left over, the board typically.
We haven't put anything in reserve since I've been on the board.
Oh, really?
I don't think.
Wow.
I don't think so.
It was up
We
to
used to
almost
have a
$1
lot of
million.
debate over whether we should spend that money, but it's kind of our savings account in case we get into.
So
a
we
mess.
just had 586,000 sitting there for however many years.
It was actually a lot more than that for a while. It was almost $1 million. There were years when there was a lot of savings, and that's where it went.
But we don't have any rule about replenishing or adding to it any year.
We do try to keep it, I think, at 15%
Yeah.
of our operating budget.
So for our bond rating, that's one of the positives for our bond rating is to keep that up, I believe it's
12%
but,
Of the budget.
yeah,
of the operating.
yeah, the operating budget.
Most agencies try to keep a reserve just
For sure.
unexpected.
And I expect that we'll be building that up as much as we can in the next 2 years, because as you've seen in the AMS report, by the time those new staff come on and ramp up the revenue enough to start justifying their positions, we're gonna have to subsidize that for quite a bit. Right. So,
And is that in just a regular type of an account, or is it an investment account, or
So
how?
the county treasury, and
Yeah,
so
county.
they do have an investment.
Well, they manage all of our money for us.
Right.
We do get interest on it.
This is that committee that Brandon was on.
Yes.
You know.
And we can technically use it. Is there any restrictions to the reserve fund?
So you need 4 votes to
4
move
votes,
money out of reserve into your budget. But you can use it for whatever you want. It's most local agencies look at it as it is the last resort fund to be used.
mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And the overview. Like to talk about any specific areas that we didn't cover in depth. Do that. I will try to show on screen.
So just a quick question, and we go through this every year. I think we need to adopt every resolution independently.
You can do them all too.
Okay.
I verified that.
Would you like to move that we adopt all the resolutions under
Yes.
9.3?
Yes, so I'll make a motion to adopt all resolutions under 9.3 regarding the fiscal year 2021-2022 general fund, 341A preliminary budget.
And those are the district's preliminary budget, the preliminary budget for the Fair Oaks Park Maintenance and Improvement District, and the preliminary budget for Phoenix Field Landscape and Lighting District, and the preliminary budget for Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting District. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yep.
Okay, 9.4. Discussion and possible action on fiscal year 2021-22 bond fund 321C preliminary budget. So what happened to 341B?
You know, I don't know. I don't think we have a 341B.
Okay.
We wanted 341J for Measure J. but
Okay.
So this is very different than our operating budget, as you'll see. When we budget this, it's based on projects, not on operational costs. So this is a horrible looking spreadsheet, and I apologize for that. But we'll go through the different categories where we budget This was reviewed with the Budget and Finance Committee on June 1st, along with the regular budget. We do budget a little bit of money in salaries and benefits. We have not spent that, but that's in case we need project work or something where we're going to be taking Paula or Mario away from the regular work for long periods of time. We can reimburse that from the bond, so there's some money budgeted there. Ian, can you scroll? Sorry, way down. We don't budget much in operational costs. The only areas that we budget in are legal, and we budgeted 15,000 in there for legal work, and then bond audit, $4,500, because we have to have the audit separate from our regular audit. So that's how much that costs. And then down in capital, can you scroll a little bit? A little bit down, right there. Let's go back up. So this is a little bit more. There you go. So, okay, so these are all the projects. So what we've been doing the last 2 years is trying to budget for what we think we're going to spend in the fiscal year, and that's kind of been a disaster. So what we did this year is we budgeted everything that the board has approved for the approved projects. It's all in there. So we don't have to come back to you and rebudget as we spend for projects. So Mike has a breakdown of all the different projects and how much we're spending in each one, and I'll let him show it to you because it's much easier to see than this. So overall, the full amount in the bond budget is, I think, 25 million. That will include a new issuance of bonds in April, because we don't even have that much money in the account yet. But once we issue those bonds in April, we'll have the full amount that we'll be able to spend.
Yeah, so if we can get that presentation, yeah. Thank you.
What is the dollar figure under equipment and furnishings?
That's 500,000. That's for
That's for the amphitheater furnishings. And you'll see that on here as well. So I shared this with the Bond Oversight Committee and also with FOVEC at our monthly community presentation. And I think this is very valuable. And you're going to see some a breakdown that makes sense. One of the things that happens with bond budgets that I am aware of, and having worked on a couple, is that you really, it's different than any other budget, because for an example, when we go to bid with Village Plaza Park, that's then the budget, the approved bid amount, and then we start breaking it apart. So I couldn't put I couldn't put concrete and put a budget item down there, because there is no way that we'd be able to do that without receiving these bids first. So you get a lump, and then from that lump, as long as we don't go over that lump, then that's the budget. If we go under the lump, then we free up money for other projects down the road that you would have to approve. If we go over the lump sum, I have to come back to you and say, we're over by $1 million, we're over by $500,000, whatever the case may be. Here's why. What do you want to do? Do you want to increase the budget, or do you want to cut the project? And then we start going that route. So we haven't gotten there yet because we've been under budget on the project. So next slide, please. So here's the budgets that are actual. These are the actual figures that you've done. String Park spent 200,000. That's because that's the limit that you as a board have put to String Park. The playground surfaces is an actual at 461 and change. Phoenix Bike Park was at 30,000. And so your total is 691,232. Next slide, please. These are your estimated budgets now that you have in the projects. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 are ones that you've approved. Okay, so you've approved those dollar amounts on those first 4. 7.4 million for Village Plaza, 7.9 for the amphitheater. There's your furnishings right there, your 500,000, and then your community clubhouse at 3 million. These other ones you're aware of, and actually, excuse me, Phoenix Park has been approved at 1.6 million. See, Phoenix Park parking. So that one's been approved as well. And we're working obviously on all of those and getting those budgets more solidified and bids in. La Vista, it's a placeholder at 4.1 million. That's coming out of the Phoenix portion of the project. You had earlier held it in Phoenix. Now we're moving it over to La Vista. And then the pickleball, which you as a board have given us the authority to work on that. We're holding on it because the reason we're holding on that one We want to see what those Village Plaza Park bids come in at. If they are over, this is a project that you'll probably have discretion on and decide yes or no on if we want to continue it. So for a total amount of $24,975,250. Next slide, please. So here's your summary, your actual projects that you saw in that first slide, your estimated ones at 24.9 million, your total right now committed in projects at $25.6 million. Measure J funds at 26.9, estimated balance of 1.2 million. That's your estimated balance at this point in time. This is really rough. So don't think you really have $1.2 million. You probably have not much less, but less than that, because you've paid some other fees like out there, the fee for selling the bonds, for example, those come in.
So how do you count for the interest earned?
That's part of it. Exactly. You're actually absolutely right. Best practices on interest earned in bonds is to wait and use it as that reserve fund to cover these slight overages that might happen. Or at the end of the day, when we know our final count, is then to pick up some of these smaller projects, replacing light poles, things like that, that we might be able to do. So we basically hold off on the interest until we know where we're at with all these other projects.
If I recall, before, when we had a capital program, I think it was only about $1 million a year at the highest. So being left with only $1.2 million is not the worst thing in the world.
Well, and remember this, you're not seeing some projects that you've been hearing about, like the bike park at Phoenix. You know, and there's other projects that are still kind of hanging out here that we haven't seen yet.
I think one thing that's going to be really important for us to remember, and especially as we're getting bids, I know we were talking about that a little bit this morning. Right now, contractors don't want to hold an estimate more than a week.
No.
If that, it's like 3 days, as I'm looking at this too. And so we have to be really cognizant of how expensive everything is right now, how much, not only the labor, but just the lumber. It's insane how much lumber is right now. So I mean, Director Card, I don't think we're gonna have 1.2.
Well, when you look at that number, 1.2 million, that's roughly a 10% contingency.
Yeah,
On all of that.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So at this point,
Sobering.
at this point in time, I caution us all to be cognizant of that 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Next
Keep
slide.
wondering if we ought to delay even further on.
Now, this-
out the bids.
There's an
You
article in the Wall Street Journal this morning talking about lumber and how the futures are down 40%.
Yeah, the down.
So like they shot way up, but the futures are pointing to where it's going to level out. It's going to come back quicker than we think.
Yeah.
We hope.
And it's-
But so we also have that grant money floating out there too,
Yeah,
right?
that's what you're seeing here.
Okay.
This is that next slide, because now we're going to start looking at, what other funding opportunities we have to supplement Measure J funds, or that $1.2 million. So first of all, Prop 68 round 3, we applied for $5.9 million. We were rejected. Okay, so the next one is Prop 68, the RIRE, or the Revenue Enhancement Program. We have been approved for 250. We don't have that money in the bank, but that's because we passed the bond measure. We get that 250. Prop 68 per capita, it's approved again at 172,952. That money is going over to Strang Park. Prop 68 round 4, it's a pending application, another 5.9 million. That's similar to application as round 3. We've met with the state, talked about our chances of round 4 before we applied, and they said your best chance is still to go resubmit round 3 with some adjustments and go to the same application as you did in 3.
When will we hear?
The end of the summer?
Late summer.
Yes, late summer.
Okay.
So, and they've been slow on Prop 68 again from the pandemic and a lot of other reasons. So even that late summer is a moving target. The U.S. House of Representatives, the Omni-Bara project funding, we're pending at 560 and almost 561. We made the first round. We haven't heard anything any further on that first round. So we're still waiting on that. Fingers are crossed for that 560. That's ADA access to the front of the clubhouse. So that'll free up 560 or 561,000 from the clubhouse project. The funding from Padilla's office of the Congress is pending. It's a $4.2 million and change. We haven't heard anything yet. That was a requested app, so we'll see how that plays out. It is for all ADA accesses in the rest of Village Plaza Park. So that'll free up 4.2 million out of Village Plaza Park, the amphitheater, excuse me.
Do we know how many people applied for, bodies applied for that?
Probably a lot.
They only pick 10.
Yeah, they only picked that. Each
Then they
representative.
cipher through 10.
Yeah.
For each of those representatives, 10 each. They'll cipher through those 10 and start.
That's one of the ones we feel the best about, right? Because they requested that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one, obviously.
Yeah.
Great.
So our total grant funds that we requested of staff, and I do have to appreciate all the staff that worked on this. This is a hellacious amount of job. I just want you all
It's a hellacious amount of money.
It is
Yeah.
$17 million in grants requested.
Yeah.
Denied 5.9 million, as I mentioned. We've been approved for 422 and change. So outstanding requests of $10.6 million. So we're not done. We probably won't see these large figures, but for an example, we're looking at grants for our electrical vehicle charging stations. Those kinds of things. So they're not going to amount to a whole lot, but it is going to help.
So Mike, these congressional ones, are they dependent on this big infrastructure bill or?
No, completely separate, completely separate. We are under the HUD program for both of ours, the Housing and Urban Development, and that's where the ADA fits in. You can go under a variety of different things, everything from defense and agriculture and just a variety of different things. And HUD was the one that we fit under after we investigated a little further. So, and we're obviously right with, at least with Vera, Representative Rivera's office, we picked the right one because we went forward with it.
This is outstanding. I mean, to already be $400,000 ahead.
Yeah.
I hope that we are able to see more, but this is.
Have you seen or talked to our new county supervisor at all?
So I wanted to show you the dire and I wanted to show you the possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not seen any presence in the village of him at all.
And I think that's it.
With
And then when the
COVID.
economy gets better again, we'll probably go back to the
He's been doing some
capital
outreach
program,
on his
our own
email list.
convention and revenues.
In this Facebook. There's a lot of stuff
Right.
on Facebook.
So that gives you a good overview, I think, of the
Yeah.
budgets based on the projects and what you really have.
Once
in there.
things kind of, we ought to invite him to one of our meetings.
So do we need a
Great.
motion to approve that?
Yeah, you'll need a motion to approve the bond budget and the resolution.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the recommendation of the Finance and Budget Committee and adopt resolution number 061621-07, a resolution of our district adopting fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the bond fund 341C.
Second.
All in favor? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. 9.5, discussion and possible action on the intent to levy assessments for fiscal year 2021/2022 and provide notice of hearing on July 28th, 2021 for the Fair Oaks Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District, FOLL, the Phoenix Field Landscape and Lighting Assessment District, PFLL, and the Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting Assessment District, GRILL, GRLL.
Yeah, so this item is the second step in your process to levy the assessments. You will be approving the engineer's reports that were attached, as well as setting the notice for public hearing for July 28th here in this room.
I don't think anybody should have any questions about any of these things.
No, as soon as Raymond James gets back, we vote on it without it. I think it's pretty straightforward. I would make the motion and we can wait till he comes back. I can start reading the motion.
Start reading the resolution.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's always the case, you step out for a second, that's when the action starts. And-
Yeah.
Always have action.
All these are- Yeah, this is,
You guys get it, you guys get it. from the beginning.
I keep shifting as they go down.
Makes it hard to view the screens
So
too.
we have a long meeting.
So, hey, Ian, do we have anybody out in the public that's actually, no, nothing?
Nope, that's weird.
Yeah, we didn't get any.
Not even Joe.
I was gonna think of the same thing. I didn't want to mention his
Where's
name.
Joe?
We decided this one is so straightforward and.
Oh, you already voted?
No.
No.
We're waiting to ask if you have any questions.
I don't.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the assessments.
I would move to adopt resolution number 061621-08. To continue the assessments in 2021-22 for the approving the engineer's estimate and providing for notice of public hearing for the park maintenance and recreation improvement district. Also adopt resolution 061621-09. Continue the levy assessments for fiscal year 21-22, approving the engineer's report and providing for notice of hearing for the Phoenix Field Landscape and Lighting Assessment District. And finally, adopt resolution number 061621-10, declaring an intention to continue levy assessments for fiscal year 21-22. Preliminary approval of the engineer's report, providing notice of public hearing for the Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting Assessment District.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. See, moving to 9.6. This is a tough one, guys. Discussion and possible action regarding a resolution proclaiming July as Parks and Recreation Month. Somebody would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 061621-11, recognizing July as Parks
I'll
and
make that
Recreation
motion.
Month. Motion made by Darren, seconded by
I'll second.
Raymond James. All in favor?
Aye.
I really liked it. The full moon paddle, I'm really excited.
And that's fun.
Yeah, check the matrix out on your board report. It's from we're comparing ourselves to the national. So if you get a chance, you don't have
About
to do it today.
1,000 other park and rec agencies across the US that input a lot of data, capital budget, regular budget.
Yeah.
And then you can basically, and there's tab after tab after tab, so you can compare yourself to a million different concepts. But basically, like in high school, it shows you where you rank out of those 1,000 in terms of lowest quartile or medium or upper quartile. So it's just neat information in terms of where we place. And then there's a packet at the end that is actually just really good information about where Parks and Recreation is at nationally right now.
Where does it say everything you just mentioned?
Oh, it's just the.
In your staff
In her staff.
Oh.
In the staff report, actually.
Yeah, so
Calendars,
you get a
different
chance.
funds, that's free and creative.
So before we move on, looking at the calendar, question has come up, and I don't know what the answer is. Are any of the concerts going to be in the village? Or there's going to be rumbling and grumbling?
There it is.
Wow.
Okay,
Because we're anticipating nothing happening in the village and then
We
we're
were
going
so
to.
close to being live or not, going to construction. There's just no planning.
okay.
And we'll be doing demo at the end of August or July. The clubhouse. It's just,
Hey, the parking will be so much better at Fair Oaks Park that people will love it. We
Well-
should make sure we exert our ability to use the Fair Oaks Press parking lot too.
So I would venture to guess that we're going to see a huge drop off in concerts in the park because a lot of people walk into the village.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to walk to Fair Oaks Park. So hopefully our schedule stays pretty straight, and we do see some ground being turned over, so we don't get a whole bunch of hate mail.
We're trying.
I just I got an earful today.
I get it.
Make sure that all the hate mail is directed to the chair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That should be the love.
It's
mail.
hard, it's hard.
All right. A 9.7 discussion of possible action regarding approval of the memorandum of agreement with the Employees Association for fiscal year 21-22 through fiscal year 22-23.
Yes, so this is our every other year or every third year, depending on the MOU. We have to negotiate a memorandum of agreement with the Employees Association of Park Districts, and this was the year for that. The last one was approved in 2019. So in May, the district administrator and management team met with the Employees Association to look at their suggested negotiations. And following that meeting, then the whole group met with the management personnel committee to discuss the requests. And the requests are, I will go through them. They requested an increase in the amount of disability leave that the district will pay for. Right now, we follow the state and federal guidelines of 4 months, during which time your health benefits continue to be paid. They're asking for the district to pay for an additional 2 months beyond that 4 months. We did not have enough time to really look into how that would impact us or find best practices for that. And so it was not recommended by staff, by the district administrator or the committee. The Employees Association is going to go back and benchmark some other agencies to maybe include it in the next MOU. So that was not included. There were some editing changes that we made, just to dates and some titles. The next request was a bereavement, an increase for bereavement leave from 3 days to 5 days. Again, that was not recommended. There's already some flexibility on bereavement leave at the district administrator level. And there's also sick leave that people can use if they need to take extended leave time. So the committee also did not recommend that. The next one was a request to increase the stipend amount for people that are not taking health, medical, and dental. Right now, they get a credit of $155 per month. This has not been adjusted. I don't know when it was instituted, but it's never been adjusted since I've been here for 8 years. So they were asking to increase that. We did discuss, and the district administrator as well as the committee felt that it would be reasonable to increase that to be benchmarked to the lowest tier plan at the lowest level. So right now, that's $566 a month. So that's what anybody that opts out and they have to show and prove that they have coverage somewhere else, they will receive that as a stipend.
So that's the lowest tier, lowest premium that we would be paying.
Correct. Yes. And we do budget for everyone to have healthcare, so it's not really, doesn't really impact our budget significantly.
It goes from 155 to 566.
Right now,
Just to clarify, that's the individual rate,
yes, that's
it's not a family rate.
correct. That's the lowest
That's the
tier.
cap of
lowest.
566.
Yeah, and that will change on the calendar year, so you'll see that change in January, depending on what those rates end up being. All right, the next one was the request for a cell phone reimbursement. This is because some staff are now wanting to use their own personal cell phone instead of a district issued cell phone. It does make it easier for people. There's a cost to the district for providing cell phones of about $50 a month plus equipment costs. The stipend would be $40 a month, so the district would be saving some money, and it would be helping people be more efficient and not have to carry 2 phones. There is a policy that has been completed right now. It's at the district council is reviewing it. You'll see that come back to you after it goes to the policy review committee. Again, it went to them once and they had some questions. So this MOU is just negotiating the price, the cost of $40 per month.
Just a sidebar on that, so you know what's happening with our new phone system, our team's phone system. You staff have a direct work number on their personal cell phone. So they're not giving out their personal cell numbers as a work cell. they're giving out a Teams number, and it rings into their personal cell phone.
Didn't even know that could be done.
Funner than all get out.
Multiple numbers on your same phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to put yours on mine so I can call people.
You just have it, the desk line forwarded to their cell phone, right?
Yeah, we don't even have.
We don't have desk phones anymore.
Okay, it's all done software.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
Yes.
So if
I think we're all-
my computer rings, I'm sorry.
Mike has made us
Yeah.
all into tech people.
No, I don't have a question. I just-
The next item was they requested that the MOU cover a 3-year term rather than a 2-year term because 2 years is challenging for everybody to get everything in place. It used to be 3 years, we changed it to 2. They're wanting to move it back to 3. And in addition, they wanted to move the comp study back to every 3 years because the amount of work is significant and it's challenging to do it in only 2 years. So staff and the committee were in agreement on moving it to 3 years versus 2. There were some verbiage changes, some title changes from Parks and Facilities Superintendent to Manager, making that edit. And then they requested to use their CTO in 26 pay periods versus 13 pay periods. This wasn't recommended, it wasn't included in the draft MOU, it would impact the leave liability significantly, and at the end of 13 pay periods, they get paid out for it anyway, so there's really no reason to extend it to 26 pay periods. It just increases the leave liability.
What was the desire for that from them?
I'm not really sure. They wanted to hold on to it longer.
That's something would.
Yeah.
Just a larger little lump sum. Okay.
And then the district administrator had one item that he added, which was to change the sick leave cap. Right now, it's at 320 hours. You can get paid out for at 50% of your salary. He would like to change it to 160 hours, paid out at 50%. This would exempt all current employees. It would only be for new employees. It would help our leave liability, and it was accepted by the Employees Association as well as the committee.
Well, your hours aren't being affected, of course. I mean, sitting pretty.
Well, and also you can still use the extended hours for service credit. So it
Yes.
really still has some benefit.
If you retire, you
Yeah.
can still use all your hours.
Yeah, sure.
And it doesn't cap the amount. You can
Yeah.
accrue as much as you just can't get paid off. So those are all the negotiations. Those were all vetted through the committee and the Employees Association. And now we're just requesting the approval of the board for the other.
So has the Employees Association accepted the draft MOU then?
Yes.
You want to add anything, Ralph?
No, Raymond James?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Just, approve the MOU?
All 9.7, right? 9.7.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve memorandum of agreement with the Employees Association for fiscal year 21, 22 through 23, 24.
Darren is seconded. So all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay. Rounding the last turn, I think. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of a location of a Fair Oaks Water District well site at or near New Phoenix Park.
Yes, thank you. This is a Measure J project, actually. And as we were renovating Village Plaza Park, you probably heard us talking about trying to consolidate the parcels. There's 4 parcels. Village Park, Plaza Park, the Salon Building, and the non-vacated right-of-way in front of the clubhouse. To vacate that right-of-way, which was a goal, that's something we need to do. The county had requested that we get the utilities there that are in that not abandoned right-of-way, but that right-of-way to agree to the abandonment of the right-of-way. There were 2 utilities there, one PG&E, which is a gas line, and another with Fair Oaks Water District. PG&E had no issue with it. The Water District responded back and said they wanted their water line moved back out to the current right-of-way, which is Temescal and California Street. Staff met with them. The Water District came back and said, hey, the cost is $110,000 and change to do this. We'll pay for the engineering and the plans, and we'll give that to you. So we did that with them initially. We then went into full negotiation with one of their board members, their district administrator or their manager, and Raymond James, our Vice Chair Irwin and Director Carhart were both in that negotiations. The Water District came back with a very generous proposal, we felt, of paying for the water line costs if we would give them a potential site in the future in or around Phoenix Park for a future water well. About 50 by 100 feet space needed for that. It seems that we can work that out within Phoenix Park. We are also looking at other options of property that we have near Phoenix Park that might work. The water board met Monday. They approved this in concept and gave their administrator the authority to negotiate the final agreement with those terms. And I am asking you for similar approval to negotiate the contract that would identify the potential sites, or it'd be a TBD even at this point. But the TBD for the to be determined site, it would still have to come back to this board. So we are not asking for blanket approval to give away part of Phoenix Park. We're just saying, let us work on it. And the Water District will pay for it.
So they,
Also, I would add, if the site turns out to be the enclave, I would suggest we should give you the authority to deed that to them.
so they've got a well in the village right here, off of not in California, but whatever that street is. And they have two other wells.
We have one in our yard,
Northridge Elementary, they have, I believe,
Fair Oaks Park.
yeah, one in Fair Oaks Park. Is there one over in Phoenix Field? Where their tank is, or is that just a tank?
And they're looking for a site in Phoenix. I
Oh,
thought.
little things, I don't know that.
Anyway, yeah, they do have several. They want to be prepared for severe drought years by being able to tap groundwater.
So what will happen on this approval is the Fair Oaks Water District then will sign off on their hesitation on abandoning the right of way. Then we'll be able to get the right of way abandonment taken care
That's one step closer to actually doing something.
of. Yes, it's one step forward, two steps back. It seems like every time we do something.
Where, do you have something in writing with them to show that later on that they're gonna?
That'll be the agreement that we'll be bringing
Okay.
back for approval. I believe at the August meeting is what we're targeting at this point in time for that approval. And it might have site on it. It's potential it could have site, but it may not.
And we do have documentation, forms of email that they used on the concept. So that's,
Is there a development pending sign on their maintenance chart?
Yes,
What's going on there?
they're doing some remodeling. I'm not sure exactly.
Oh, I thought you were gonna tell me they're gonna move it out of the village.
no, they're going to reconstruct at the location, I thought.
That's how I understand it.
They've been in county planning, they say, for about the last 2 years. Must be that time.
Not quite as long as us.
So by moving the water line, is it just gonna make it more accessible for them? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
really
that-
what you wanna-
Great question. Yes, it makes it very much more accessible. And if we had it in the park, it is an older pipe. It was put in the 70s. And at some point in time, the life expectancy of that pipe, it has to be replaced. It's also an asbestos pipe, which is not dangerous. They would just leave it in place and parallel the pipe to it. So it's not terrible because it's asbestos, but they aren't going to be able to just keep it forever. So they're going to tear up the park, and that's going to be our obligation to repair the park after they get through tearing it up, unless we can negotiate them.
So in your opinion, it's a good deal.
I think it's the best deal, and I believe it.
Very good deal. And they were very generous. in this. The cost to us was a lowball estimate they gave us of what, about 131,000.
110.
And so that's savings to us. Another way to look at it is we're granting them some use of a small amount of park space for community good in return for a big chunk of money.
And it breeds goodwill between our district and theirs. You never know.
Serving the same Fair Oaks community. We're
I,
getting more than twice as much as we got for the driveway on the south end of Fair Oaks Park years ago.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the staff recommendation for under item 9.8, which is the possible action regarding approval of the location of a Fair Oaks Water District well site at or North Phoenix Park with the documents coming back to the board. You have giving you the right to negotiate, Mike, but we obviously need to see that everything that comes back. So that's the motion. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, motion and made and seconded. All in favor? Okay, cool. 9.9, discussion and possible action regarding the adoption of 3 resolutions amending the fiscal year 2021 budget of the general fund, paren 341A, and paren Fund Center 9349 341 to fund costs related to the purchase of a chipper, a rhino snot.
Snout?
I saw that earlier.
It is not.
Irrigation work and backflow repairs. I want to see a picture of the rhino.
Sean is.
No, this is me.
Oh, you.
Well, I mean, yeah. So you had already approved the purchase of a chipper from our, one of our assessment districts funds.
Right.
And we added the rhino snot irrigation and backflow repairs because those are also eligible items to be spent out of that assessment district money. Rhino snot is, I am told, is a soil stabilizer that they use at the bike park to keep the soil from crumbling.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it packs down, so it's less maintenance on the jump.
I had to ask.
What is the cost? What is it going for these days?
Are there rhino snot futures?
There's not too many right, but when their noses run, there's a lot of snot
From Africa.
Rhino snot farmers. So yeah, so this is just moving the money out of the assessment districts into the general fund to reimburse. We've already spent the money to reimburse those funds.
Okay.
We need resolutions for these. huh? Because it's
Yes,
in the
I
budget.
found that out from the county when we tried to move the money. They want different resolutions than what we could give them.
I'll make a motion. 9.9, right? Yep,
Yes.
adoption of 3 resolution. Can I just say that? 3 resolutions amending 2021 budget to fund costs related to the purchase of a chipper.
One second.
All have to do each one.
All in favor? All in favor?
All in favor.
All in favor? All in snot.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 061621-13. Budget amendment. Am I on the right one here? Oh, yeah. Geez, it's long. Fiscal year
My
2020.
motion was all
three.
in one.
Oh, was it? Okay, I just heard the.
So it's all 3 of these.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
12,
you,
13, and
so
Got it. Okay.
who was the second?
Oh, that was me.
Belinda was second,
Yes.
right? Okay. So all in favor?
I,
All right. Okay. 9.10, discussion and possible action regarding approval of a change order with Cala for work at Village Plaza Park.
Thank you. As you know, any change orders for project Measure J projects has to come back. Over $10,000 have to come to you for approval. This is a change order for $27,730 with Cala. It is for the drawings and the engineering and the permitting for the retaining wall right behind the band shell in Village Park. That wall has been compromised and to do the plans, the permitting to get that wall taken care of during construction. This is not within their original scope.
it's absolutely necessary, and it's better to do it now, and with this contract, we'll get better prices. I'll make the motion that we authorize the signature by the district administrator on the change order with Cala for $27,730, according to attachment A, to prepare the detailed layout profile plans for the structural retaining walls of the Village Park.
We have a motion made.
A second.
Motion is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 10.
Yeah,
Items of the board.
staff.
I believe we're on 10.
Here we are on 10.
I have
We are finally there.
Board.
Board staff reports, items from directors.
Start at the other end. I had something.
Belinda.
I forgot.
I
what
don't,
it
I
was.
don't have anything tonight.
Darren,
Um,
nothing.
Nothing.
Due to my poor memory, I have nothing either.
Wonderful.
All right, I know, we have a few things I know, and I believe, Sean, you have something?
Yes, can you hear me, Board of Directors?
And
Yes, loud and clear.
Sorry I couldn't be there with you tonight. I am, as always, Sean Ventura, Park and Facilities Manager. Just a quick update on what my crew is up to these days. We've been working pretty hard out at Phoenix Park. We've had a couple of complaints from some of the neighbors and the walkers out there about the state of the perimeter fencing and the signage of the vernal pools. So we've been expending quite a bit of time to bring that back up to a state it was probably before 2020. It got a little under the weather from its time going through 2020, and we brought it back up, repairing bollards, the wooden posts that are on the outside perimeter of it, running new cable fencing through those bollards. They've already been cut twice, and we've repaired those breaks as well. And then we've been resanding and repainting, and our goal is to replace a few of the signs that are out there that were originally, I believe, an Eagle Scout project from some time ago. All in all, we're just kind of answering the requests of the public and trying to make everything look like the people of Fair Oaks would like them to look. That's pretty much it. It's not all we're doing, but just something kind of fun I wanted to share with you all.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Of course.
Any progress, Mike, on the idea of controlled burns at the vernal pool?
Yes, we met with Staff Metro last week about control burns. And so they looked at the site, gave us all of the information on what we need to do moving forward. And I was in contact with the person at Staff Metro, so before they're
So-
looking at fall being the best option, which is October, November. But the lack of rainfall and how soon it takes for rainfall to come could affect that. And whereas we may push it to spring.
So I'm assuming we would let every neighbor know within.
We would, but they said best practices are that you do not let them know too soon. Just because in past experiences, when you let them know any earlier than a week in advance, there's a little bit of a frenzy for people who are afraid of fire to create a social media storm without the educational information traveling with that. So if you lessen the window, you're still within compliance, and you give them a link to all the information that you deliver to their house, either orders or postings, that gives them all the educational info.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
And not only does it rejuvenate the ecology of the vernal pool, but it eliminates future fire hazard.
Right,
from all the high.
It's good grass management for sure.
And we will put signage at Phoenix in preparation. So we know when we're closer to that day.
Okay.
Is that better than the goats?
Yeah, the goats are exceptionally expensive. Exceptionally expensive.
I'm not sure goats are good practice in the vernal pool.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. They're trampling through all the sensitive fluids.
They have their own unnecessary fertilization.
So who's next?
Katie.
Katie.
Good information here. I am, as always, Katie Cotta, Recreation Superintendent. Thank you. I want to announce officially, since I did for the other two, Sabrina Bernardo has passed her certified park and recreation professional test. All three supervisors.
All right.
In addition to Ian Roberts, are all certified. Events are back. If you haven't heard, we just finished the keynote, which is a huge success. My goodness, people couldn't get clues fast enough. So that is caught on like wildfire, unintended. The summer stage series does start next week. We have a test run tomorrow night, which is Friends of Fair Oaks, which was by invitation only and purposely to recognize our partners, our board members, and also do a test run of the stage, the layout, everything on the softball field. And then concerts and everything else, which everything else is a concert on Thursday, a comedy show on Friday, and a theater production of some sort on Saturday, and that will be the last weekend of June, July, August. In addition to a fourth concert on September 30th, and that will close out the summer stage series.
You have it scheduled for that, or, I mean?
Yeah, well, yes,
Some,
it's on social media, and I can email you something,
oh,
Ralph,
okay, it's
for
on.
sure. I can email you as well. The concerts will look a little bit different. We do know there's going to be some pushback. In fact, we've already had that for about a month, and we've been working that through the community because we had posts based on existing COVID restrictions. And as we are moving out of those restrictions, we will obviously change our postings for what you can and can't do in concerts or the comedy night. But they are on the softball field, which means first and foremost, no glass of any kind can be on that softball field. And when you get an ABC permit, no outside food or drink as well. So we are having a food truck or two that will be out there on the field. Sean's approved it. We will have beer and wine sales by the Theater Festival group. Barbara's secured all permitting for that. We will have what we normally do, security, we will have spray painted rows. It will be very similar to what we used to, just a lot less booths for information. So same thing with comedy, and then the theater has decided to do a magic show for right now. They'll change that throughout their 3 nights that they have over the summer, but first one I believe is the magic show. New, we have Food Truck Mania, which we are calling Park, Eat, and Play, which starts July 1st at Fair Oaks Park from 5 to 8. That's just the first Thursday of each month through October, which is just food trucks and opportunities to have maybe our wild bus and some other things out for the community to be out enjoying the park. So it won't impact anything else happening in the park. We're doing this with Sacto Mofo. So we have already a really great relationship to do the chicken festival with them. So you'll see that. Carmichael does one on a different night. Auburn has a food truck mania, and it's very popular.
Who's doing the beer and wine?
For the stage series, the beer
Yeah.
festival. They do the beer and wine for everything we do in the amphitheater.
Okay, but who's supplying it?
Well, they are getting some of it donated from Gary, and then they purchase the rest.
So one sort of comment, remember when we did the Plaza Park, what do you call it, farmer's market?
Yes.
Remember, we destroyed everything, so this is really to Sean, make sure that we don't water those lawns for these events.
Sean has created a whole plan. He's gonna flagging irrigation. They're actually not coming out on the field, they're staying in the foul line.
I should know.
So, but we noted everything Ralph has told us about parking by trees and everything, so we are following that for sure. And by we, I mean Sean. I just want to highlight, we're doing progressive dinners. That's a partnership between the Park District and Chamber. Kim and Sabrina are doing that. That is something that might encourage us to look into as we begin to shut down the village to give back. It's very minimal staff effort or time. It's really the restaurants putting together the menu items. And the Chamber is actually doing all of the registration, taking payment, everything. So most of the staff is going to sign up to go. I'm already signed up. It's $65. It's amazing. All of this is on the website, so I won't read it. But it's Brahma. It is the Brew Pub. It is Wild Rooster Bistro, and it is Stockman's, which are all reasons why we could not be the ticket taker. And then the money we collect, it actually doesn't go back to any of us. It goes back to the restaurant. So it's $65, and that includes tip and everything.
Is that a one-time event?
It's one time on July 14th, and then we will have one in August and September as well. So we're very excited for that. And then the Chicken Festival we're planning for Chicken Festival September 18th at Fair Oaks Park. It'll be a little bit different. It'll be from 3 to 8 p.m. because we just don't know how much of the excitement is going to be to do a full day's event. The breakfast will actually be at the Grange, so we'll have some hybrid options where you're not just all in one place all day. You go have breakfast over at the Grange, come back to the village, and we've got some other things that we're going to activate in the village so that people still get to spend the chicken festival day in the village doing something.
Katie, who are the other, you said Brahma and Red Rooster under the Progressive Dinners. Did you mention somebody else?
Brahma, Wild Rooster Bistro, Stockman's, and the Brew Pub. And so basically what it is one of them is the pre-drink, dinner, drink, and appetizer. One is the entree, one is dessert and a beverage, and then you can stop anytime in between your travels at Stockman's for any well.
For hydration?
Yeah.
So he was really great, and you know, Kim was a very big deal in getting all of that worked out with Sabrina. So youth program, just want to tell you, Camp Fair Oaks is full for the summer at 40 kids. We normally have 65, so again, as June 15th hit, we will assess the staffing that we have and our ability to slowly grow back up to 65 because we're allowed to. We just don't want to rush it. It was a bit hard to hire part-time people this year, which the whole world is experiencing. And so we have that, and then outdoor sports, adult sports and outdoor events, very successful Mississippi Bar Trail Run. It was great. We had 178 participants. We raised $1,800 for the Rachel Ann Gray Scholarship. And it was just a great, quick morning, actually. So that was a great event. Adult softball league started this week. This is the second set of leagues that we've had so far. And barbecue rentals and indoor rentals are open. The only one we can rent is the old library. So that's what we're doing in recreation. Thank you.
So question, I've heard announcements for the concert tomorrow that don't include the pre-reservations. It's going to be really hot tomorrow. Is there a plan to allow people to kind of come without the reservation and get into the ball field area?
So we only staffed for a certain amount of people in coordination. And then we're having beer and wine sales, and we only got security based on that attendance. So
So the answer is
no.
Now, I've also heard that people could come and stand outside the fenced area.
Technically, as long as you're not in the way of the walkway to access the park or in the parking lot, you can come enjoy the park anytime you want outside the field. But this is our test run, so we just didn't want to overdo it. We want to be able to work through some of the kinks, so we're ready for next weekend.
So in the future ones, will there be reservations?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Well,
This was
for
special.
comedy, you'll have to buy a ticket.
Yeah,
Nope.
well, great.
So we will have to actually stop people from coming in once there's no more grass available. So that's what the county has told us. When you don't have any grass available, you're at your capacity. So, thank you.
I think Jennifer has a few things.
Yes, just a few things. We were discussing virtual committee meetings, whether we want to go back to in-person committee meetings or we want to continue to do virtual. Just wanted to get some feedback from you.
I personally like virtual committee meetings because it just,
All right, good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
a great answer.
Yay.
And then I wanted to remind everyone that next month's meeting is going to be on July 28th, not July 21st. I will not be here. Paul will be filling in for me. She'll be doing the clerk duties for that meeting. And then finally, our office is going to be reopening to the public. We're opening the doors, we're unlocking them on July 6th. So you can buy and say hi.
July 6th.
And I have a couple of things. I need a kind of a consensus of the board on this one. The bond oversight committee, had a resignation. One of the members had resigned. And I called the committee and asked them what they thought about having an additional member. And they said, no, they were fine with the 9 they had. I'm coming back to you because it's ultimately your decision. If you give me direction to start recruiting, I will do that. And then we'll bring that candidate forward to you later. But if you want to go with the bond oversight's recommendation, we'll just keep it at 9 and keep moving forward.
I think if you were to add that to.
Yeah, that was one of the things at 10,
Yeah.
none of their votes are binding, their recommendations. So it's not critical that we have an odd number, but it's helpful. It's very helpful.
Who resigned?
Rand Jacobs.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while. And we hadn't had a bond oversight committee meeting for a while. So I was finally able to sit down.
I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't have a problem. If somebody pops up that really wants to get on there, I imagine you'd have the discretion to add them or you come back.
Well, yeah, we can take their application and then revisit this. You know, you can add members anytime, realistically. So there's no restriction on when you add.
Okay.
The special meeting that we talked about for the demolition bid, we will not need that. We will be bringing the bid at the July 28th. So you will not need a special meeting in July. I'm out of town on Wednesday through Friday at the Capri or the California Association of Recreation and Park Districts Conference in Monterey, first live conference and great conference of all the Parks and Rec districts in California. So I'll be there Wednesday through Friday. More importantly though, and I will be available by phone, and then I will be on vacation June 28th, which is the following Monday, through July 8th, and I will not be available at all. Katie will be covering for us and taking care of that. She will not be able to reach me neither. So I'm in an area with no service or.
Take your bear spray.
It's one of the hardest things to get up there because you actually have to buy it there, and I'm even taking a bush plane in. There's restrictions on bringing it on a bush plane. So it's like, oh.
Where are you going?
Up to the Yukon to do a 8-day float.
Really neat. Well, please come back.
I will try. I will try. And that is it for me.
Good.
One other quick, just a kudos to staff. This looks almost seamless. This is a lot of work. Everything these guys did.
Good job.
Chelsea and Ian, outstanding. Outstanding.
Do you guys have to like break this?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not gonna leave.
No, it has to come.
Yeah, what time did you guys start doing?
We got here.
We didn't start setting up till 4.
Wow, that's a really good job. I would have thought it would have taken.
We'll get better
We did
at
a
it.
total test run.
Yeah, we've done some tests.
Oh, okay.
We were fully set up
Awesome.
by
Well,
5:25.
and motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from
So moved.
Seconded.
moved, seconded.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job, everybody.
All right.
You don't look so tan. You all look so tan.
We don't work inside.
Next time, come in your shorts, okay, so we don't feel so bad.
Goodness. We're coming to see you guys look so good.